Not far from Glasgow's Clydeside, at Govan, stands one of the most up-to-date production centres of Lyons Bakery Division. On Tuesday, December the 17th, 1963, the 2.5 years of progress and development put into this bakery received official civic recognition when the Lord Provost of Glasgow, Mr. Peter Meldrum, came along to officially open the new harvest cake department. But that's a story in itself. First, let's take a quick look at the achievement which prompted the visit. The contrast between these 36-year-old draw-plate ovens, still in use but shortly to be pensioned off, and this new press-button creamery signifies in a nutshell the extent to which these improvements have been made. In the Swiss roll plant, continuous carpets of light-as-air sponge mix, ideally prepared, enter this oven at one end and appear at the other, perfectly baked. Automation features prominently here, but there's no mechanical substitute for the skill of these hands, or for that matter, all the other operations requiring that special touch. On to the wrapping machines, and out come the oven-fresh choc rolls, which are then packed by nimble fingers into eye-catching cartons. They are now ready to go to customers throughout Scotland, the north of England, and the Midlands. The first stage of their journeys, in fact, is down this road, where, over the fence, this 5-acre site opposite the existing bakery is being acquired for still further development. But that is for the future. Today's story, and the highlight of the year at Govan Bakery, brings us finally to the harvest cake department, where last-minute preparations are being made. Here, some of the 20,000 harvest cakes that the Lord Provost will bake at the press of a button are being dressed with almonds. And for the final part of the ceremony, this display of Lyons bakery skill contains a specially baked Christmas cake and this unique ski run cake, which together with over 2,000 harvest cakes will be presented to local charities. Well, an informal start to a formal occasion, and greeted here by the Chief Executive of the bakery, Mr. Tom Scott, the Lord and Lady Provost arrived for coffee. The Right Honourable Peter Meldrum and his wife are quite obviously going to enjoy themselves. Other visitors include city councillors, industrialists, and members of the press. Down to the business in hand, and before officially starting the new turbo-radiant oven, the Lord Provost has something to say about the Lyons' contribution to local industry in Glasgow. The ladies seem to approve, so without more ado, the Lord Provost sets about his satisfying task of baking 4,000 5-pound fruitcakes by pressing the starting buttons. The oven, 95 feet long and heated by 4 gas-fired chambers which circulate hot air throughout the baking area, now takes over. Meanwhile, the visitors are conducted around the bakery and escorted here by production manager Mr. Eddie Millington. The Lord and Lady Provost see first of all the fruit washing room, where 35 tons of currants and sultanas are handled each week. It's forward to the mixing room and back to boyhood memories. But that wouldn't be quite the thing here, now would it? So it's up in the lift to the Swiss roll department, where some would point out harvest cake isn't the only product around here. At this point, Mrs. Meldrum is fascinated by the coating of the choc rolls, and so too is her husband. It's all done by mirrors, whispers Mr. Scott. Well, it seems that the girls up front have been carried away because there are no choc rolls left to pack for the moment. You've got a nice job, says the Lord Provost. Next stop, the creamery. And as the visitors can see for themselves, it's all stainless steel and good stuff under the lid. Yes, it goes around and around, and it comes out here. The cream, that is. It's a full circle for the Lord and Lady Provost, where the trip back to the turbo-radiant oven, where the first of those 4,000 fruitcakes are now emerging. Perfect. Couldn't have done better myself, says one baker to another. Everybody agrees it's a first-class job, and everything is ready for the presentation ceremony. After handing over the ski run cake on behalf of Lyons Bakery Division, the chief executive makes room for foreman and gold medalist Jimmy Law to present the sugar plaque which he made specially for the occasion, and for Bert Burgess, who's been with the bakery since 1927, to present to Mr. and Mrs. Meldrum their own personal Christmas cake. This should be the end of our story, but some of the girls want a closer look at our important visitor. And who should get the closest look of all but the shyest girl in the bakery, Miss Beatrice Kane. High spirits are obviously contagious. Anyway, she blushes very prettily, don't you think? To a really warm send-off, the Lord and Lady Provost drive away, leaving us with a mixture of pride, pleasure, and still greater enthusiasm for things to come.